or two. You can go ahead and attach it if you want. However you want to handle it. And we have plenty of note cards. Any more now, just let me know. But even when you're listening to the pre-recorded lectures online, if I say, this is really important, pull out one of those cards, okay? Write it down. And I don't care how you write it, however you've learned is fine. If this doesn't work for you, that's okay. If you like pen and paper, if you want to type it up, whatever is best. But this is easy. You can throw it in a purse, in a bag, grab it out, and study it, okay? Okay, how's everybody doing? Good, quiet, excited, happy to be here. So I have to learn. I'm sure you've heard me. I'm supposed to stay facing this way. So if I start turning this way, get too close, just say, get away. Give me a little shoe or something, okay? Because it's hard for me to get used to that. So what we're going to do, today is lab day. One thing I didn't tell you guys on Monday that I did tell the Tuesday class, for today, it's fine moving forward in the lab, make sure you wear closed-toe shoes. Like, I didn't fall in that middle today because I ran over my toe in the shop today. But make sure to wear closed-toed shoes, especially when we go into the needles. Okay, when we start using needles, I don't want anybody to get hooked on the foot. It's something where to fall. Okay, so anytime we're in the lab, closed-toed shoes. Questions, concerns? Are you guys able to access this Engage last week? Any issues with it? No? Was everybody able to find the chapter okay? Were you able to read it online? Okay. If you weren't, that's okay. If you need help using it, being online. It is. I think the more we use it, the easier it'll become. It's one of those things that it's totally overwhelming to look at the main learning path, the dashboard. There's so many icons. I think once we get into it, it'll make more sense. For next week, if you have your schedule, I want you to read that whole chapter. You can go and look at it. I think it's 36. It's all about vital signs, okay? So I want you to focus on that one. If you need help finding that chapter, please tell me that before we leave today, okay? Yeah, so read chapter 36. And then if you would like a paper copy of those 2 skills lists for next week, let me know and I'm happy to make a copy. If you feel comfortable reading over them through the learning path, all of that information is within the chapter. Did you guys see that when you looked online? Those skills lists are actually embedded within those pages. So if you want a paper copy, find me before the end of class, okay? Okay, so first things first. Did anybody do their teacup challenge? Okay, how did it go?
I already did that, so
it's normal. Did anybody else, was it a big change for them? Increase? No? Okay, so for this week, what we're doing is, has anybody heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? You heard of that? Okay, so basic things. What are some basic things you need to support life? Food, what else?
water, shelter,
Rest. Something that's outside. Orange. Yeah. Oxygen starts with an A. Yes. Air. Okay, so oxygen. This week's challenge, you need to get outside and get fresh air. Okay? Not with kids, not with a spouse, not with a friend, completely by yourself. You don't have to walk. Get outside. Sit outside. Not on your phone. Just be. Think your own thoughts, do whatever you want, nobody around, okay? If it has to be at 11 o'clock at night because your kids are going crazy, wait until 11 o'clock. Sit outside, get some fresh air, okay? And you have to tell me how it goes next week. Okay, so first thing we're going to do before we go over chapter 34, we're going to do one icebreaker. It's something we're going to do every week just to get you guys comfortable. The other thing too, the half index card that's on your desk, go ahead and take a pen and write your name on that. We're going to put that into your skills kit that's in the lab. So, and right on the online side, the solid white side. And up and down. If you can do it vertically, that would be great. So what we'll have, we kind of went over it last week. These skills, you'll have a little container in the lab that's going to have all of the items that you need to practice your skills. Everything will be put in there each week that we're here. And once it's time for us to go virtual, that'll be put into a bag for you guys and it'll be sent home with you. You're not touching anybody else's supplies. Another thing about the lab, what we'll do today, I'm going to try to show you, like putting on gown, gloves, goggles, that type of thing. I'll show you in here, and then I'll try to take you two at a time into the lab so we can practice. You guys can spread out and can practice putting it on and off in there. Okay. Same thing with hand washing. I'm going to, if our business lady can connect it, I will actually take a camera in there with me, and you guys can watch on the screen so I can show it to you. If that doesn't work, we'll just go into it at a time. We'll practice that. Okay. Our main goal is to try to keep you guys separated enough that nobody's too close. Okay. All right, so icebreaker. What is your absolute dream job? Go ahead and think about it for a minute or two, and then we'll talk about it, okay? We're going to share. Everybody have something in mind? Yep. Still thinking? You got it? Okay, so I'm trying to say tough stuff. Absolute true tough. Do you want me to pass?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was looking comments about the honor.
And how many kids do you have? None. Okay. That's awesome. That was when I graduated from nursing school, that was my dream job, was to go into some sort of neonatal, not necessarily intensive care, but doing something with delivery, labor and delivery. Go ahead. Me? Yes, you got one.
Podiatrist.
What is it?
Podiatrist.
Why? I'm just curious.
I love feet.
You like feet?
I like little pedicures and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, there aren't very many good podiatrists around here. That would be a really good field. Kayla?
Labor and delivery nurse.
Labor and delivery. Awesome. Okay.
That's RN.
Alright, okay. Any specific area?
Something like babies.
Yeah.
Help with little babies. I'm an ER nurse.
Awesome. Gabrielle?
Oh, I'm gonna be odd one out. I was gonna say, well, since I'm changing careers, I was a photographer, I was gonna say, no, professional graphic photographer. But then I was like, you know what? It would be fun to be like a queen.
A queen. Hey, there you go.
You know, living, traveling, in LA. So anyway,
Oh.
whatever.
Yeah, the traveling all over the world would be fun.
Yeah.
I want to be a physician assistant
Okay, awesome. Any particular area?
for kids, pediatric.
Okay. Now you have kids?
Yeah,
How many?
one.
One. Okay. Who has kids in here? I know we went over this last week. One. Okay, how many do you have?
One.
One. How many do you have back there?
Me?
Yeah, how many kids? Six. Okay. You have 2 or 3? Okay. Gabrielle, 1, 2. Okay. And then do you have kids? 1. Okay. What are the ages?
My son is 4.
4.
My oldest is 13, and my youngest will be 8.
Your youngest will be what?
A year-old.
Oh, wow. I bet that was a hard transition going back to having kids after
Yes.
It's hard to progress. Those sleepless nights.
Oh, yeah.
What are the ages of yours?
My oldest is 13, and then my youngest is turning 2.
2. Okay. Wow. So close. You guys have similar. 13-ish, 1, 2-ish. How old are yours?
10, 9, and 5.
10, 9, 5. So are they all in school?
Yes.
That has to feel like freedom. Has to feel strange. How old?
One.
1.
Wait, no.
How old?
Mine's 1.
Okay. 2 and 6. Awesome. So I think I told you guys last week, but I have getting ready to turn an 8-year-old girl this week. On Thursday, she's turning 8, and a 5-year-old girl, and an almost 2-year-old girl. So a lot of pink and a lot of glitter and a lot of drama in our house. A lot of emotions, good and bad. Okay, and for me, dream job, I always wanted to be a photographer. So I get to use my kids as subjects. And that was fun when we had only 2, but then when you add a third one, it's impossible to get everybody to look at the same place at the same time. So, you can do that on the side.
So
Okay.
I always wanted to be actually a medical examiner.
Really?
From the time I was like in middle school. That was kind of really shame to watch volleyball.
Yeah. It takes a special type of person.
Yeah.
Medical examiner, even working like in a funeral home setting. I mean, it really, those people are so empathetic. I think
But I figured I'd start with living, so.
Yeah, there you go. I'll tell you, we're getting off topic here, but I'll tell you a story. My first nursing clinical in nursing school was actually the lady who directed this program originally. We were over at Front Royal at Warren at the hospital, and she told us, there was 3 of us, and she said, I want you to go into this room at the end of the hallway. I want you to stand there, I want you to observe, tell me what you see, and come back out. I was like, okay. Well, I think it's going to be a procedure, somebody's got, a lot of IVs hooked up. We walk in there, and the person who passed away was an older lady. You could tell that she was not alive. She was totally gray, ashen. The family is crying around her. I get chills about her. It upset me. I was like, I don't know if I can do this, because I felt so terrible walking in that room, and they were like mourning over this lady. So we come back out, like holding onto the wall. I'm like, oh boy. She said, the family's gonna leave. You guys get to do postmortem care. Our first day of clinical. We've literally never learned for postmortem care. I've never. And we went in there and we had to pull out a PICC line, we had to clean her up, we had to take out her IVs, we did her hair, and then we walk out like we're done, and she hands us a bag and a tag. She's like, I want you to bag her, and I want you to put the tag on her toe. It was so upsetting, but guess how many times I've done in the hospital? It's funny how something that traumatizes you, it actually set me up for a really good lesson, because it's something I did often in the hospital. It never got easier. And I think that's a sign of somebody who's empathetic. You can't even imagine, what they've suffered through just in the short term, but also, this is somebody's mother, grandmother, friend, sister, or a man, brother, husband. It's a good lesson, but interesting. Okay, sorry, I digress. So, chapter 34, infection control. What kind of role do you think you guys play in that as a medical assistant going into an office? Is it important for you to Be cautious. What should you be doing to help with infection control? Yeah.
And wash it.
Yeah. Hand washing is so important. Right now, these are extremely important because we're in the middle of the pandemic. You guys have the ability to break the cycle of an infection. So what does that mean? That means if you go in there, you've got a patient who's coughing and sneezing, you can say, excuse me, sir, can you please do that in your elbow? Or can you please go wash your hands? You have the ability to educate patients to encourage them to stop it. Because if you're standing there and that patient sneezes in your face, well, guess what? There's a very good chance that you're going to pick up whatever is coming out of his nose. You breathe it in if you're close enough. Okay? Universal precautions. I want you guys to write that on your card. No, I'm sorry. Little card, just your name. And we'll take those. The little card will take it to the lab when we go in separately. Okay?
You said like universal?
Yeah, universal precautions. So, has everybody heard of that? It's one of those general terms to say what in the world does that even mean, right? So it's explained it in the book, but it's universal precautions were set by the CDC, designed to prevent transmission of pathogens. So, what could that be? HIV, hepatitis B, any sort of bloodborne pathogen, okay? We're trying to prevent the transmission of pathogens. What are pathogens? Bacteria, viruses, things that you don't want to receive, okay? So,
You said prevent the transmission
of
of what?
pathogens. So you can just put bloodborne pathogens. So, all body fluids and blood are considered potentially infectious. So that's really the way that you have to treat every patient. If you're handling blood, you need to protect yourself. You want to protect the patient, but you also need to protect yourself. It sounds selfish, but you have to assume that somebody has something that you don't even know about yet. You could be drawing their blood to find out if they have hepatitis B. What if you decided to pull the finger off of your glove to try to draw their blood, and then you get pricked, and that blood touches you? You don't know that they have something, but you just need to assume in your mind that somebody has something potentially infectious. You need to protect yourself, okay? Okay, next one, standard precautions. Go ahead and write that one on your card. And if you want to write things on the same card, that's fine. If you want to write multiple terms, it doesn't matter how you do it to me. So, standard precautions are set up for the safety of you guys as healthcare providers and for the public. Give me some examples of standard precautions. What are some of the things that you put on?
Gloves.
Gloves. Okay, so you want to write these down. These are all considered standard precautions. Gloves. What else?
PPE.
Yeah, so what are the PPE? Yeah. Yeah. So, what does PPE mean?
Personal protective equipment.
Awesome. So, if you don't know that, write that down too. PPE, personal protective equipment. I actually saw it on a school document, a public school document last week that I had to fill out. They didn't even write what PPE meant. And I thought to myself, there have to be so many people that don't even understand what PPE stands for. It wasn't in parentheses. So, personal protective equipment. So, we have gloves, gowns, goggles, masks, sometimes face shield too if necessary. Okay. Next one that we went over in those pages, OSHA. Has everybody heard of OSHA? Okay. Write down OSHA. That's something the NHA loves to ask you questions about, okay? So OSHA stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration. They're basically a regulatory agency. They're the ones who provide the standards to ensure quality care. So they're a regulatory agency. They provide standards to ensure quality care.
What does the HA mean?
Health Administration. Occupational Safety and Health Administration.
One more time, regulatory.
Agency. They provide the standards to ensure quality care. next one, CLIA, all caps. CLIA, a lot of providers will refer to them as CLIA. Clinical Lab Improvement Amendments. This is something that came out in 1988. CLIA and OSHA kind of mushed together as part of the regulatory guidelines that all offices and hospitals follow. Okay. Yeah, CLIA, Clinical Lab Improvement Amendments. These were amendments that were put into place in 1988, so they've been around for a long time. So OSHA and CLIA, they basically come up with these regulations that must be followed. They're federally mandated, so this means that everywhere all over the U.S. is following these regulations. The point of OSHA is to protect you guys as healthcare providers and protect the patients. Okay. Does anybody need me to repeat?
I know what CLIA means, but what did you?
What did I just say? So CLIA and OSHA, they're both federally mandated. Yeah, they're federally mandated. That just means that it's required, a requirement for everywhere in the United States to follow these guidelines and regulations. And the point of OSHA is to protect you guys as healthcare providers and protect the patients. Anybody else see anything repeated? Okay, next thing, medical asepsis. Has anybody heard of that before? Yep, so medical asepsis. The point of this is to try to prevent, it's infection control, try to prevent infection, okay? So, medical asepsis, you're decreasing the risk of spreading an infection, okay? Decrease the risk of spreading an infection by decreasing the number of microorganisms. What in the world does that mean? Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Sanitize or wash your hands, okay? Has anybody seen that video that went viral at the beginning of the pandemic? And it was a guy that sounded like he was a woman. He had a Lysol can and said sanitize and work for those guys. No, okay. It's a big hit around our house. Okay, so hand washing. If you are in an office environment or a hospital environment, what does that mean? If you have the opportunity to get to a sink to wash your hands, washing with soap and water is always the best option, okay? If given both options, sanitizer and a sink, always pick the sink, okay? That is your safest bet to protect yourself. If your hands are not soiled, if you don't have anything visibly on your hands, and there is not a sink around, sanitizer is fine, okay? What is expected in most healthcare facilities is you put sanitizer on before you walk in. It's important for the patient to see that you're cleaning your hands. Even if you wash them at the sink, a lot of offices will say, still hit the sanitizer when you go in. To show them, look, I'm cleaning my hands before I touch you, okay? On the way out, same thing, sanitize your hands again, okay? It makes the patient feel more comfortable and you're protecting yourself. One thing about sanitizer, you'll find that even just wearing gloves, if anybody's in the healthcare field, you notice how dry and cracked your hands get from washing all the time. One thing that I didn't understand when I first became a nurse is that lotion was refriend. I always thought lotion's, it's going to be sticky, it'll get into your fingernails. You need to moisturize your hands because we're going to do something in a little bit, and I'll show you. If you have dry and cracked hands, you can actually harbor more organisms in those dry, cracked areas than if your hands are moisturized. Okay? So, when should you hand wash? Yep, when not? Just general. What about eating? Should you wash your hands before you eat? Do you tell your kids to wash their hands before they eat? Okay. Should you wash your hands after you eat if you're in a medical setting? Yes, because what if somebody has a food allergy? What if you touch your food, they're allergic? If you eat peanut butter, they're allergic to peanut butter. You go in there and touch them without washing your hands. Guess what? They could have an anaphylactic reaction. Okay? What else? What about if you're doing a stretch swab or you're assisting with a pap smear? Should you be washing your hands before and after, even if you have gloves on? Okay. It sounds silly because it's something so basic that we do all the time, but it is hugely important, and you'll be shocked at how many people don't wash their hands well. Okay, another thing with hand washing. Should you have a lot of jewelry on in a healthcare environment? Very, very basic. Even rings. I mean, people are questioning whether you should even have any sort of jewelry on. A lot of people, I'm sure you've seen, wear like a silicone ring. The idea of that is that there less germs can stay on that type of environment than can in a metal ring. My same clinical instructor that took me into the person's room who passed away, she had a story of somebody who she worked with at Warren at the hospital who wore this big gaudy engagement ring. She actually had MRSA under her ring that they thought she picked up from that hospital environment. She didn't make it. She actually died. They were able to swab the ring and figure out that she was harboring MRSA in her ring. So it is a legitimate issue. It's not just you see people selling these rings on Facebook. It's real. Be careful with your jewelry. Don't wear a lot of bracelets. Try to minimize the rings. You want to protect yourself. That's truly the reason. You want to protect the patient, but if you're wearing gloves, you can still harbor things under those gloves, okay? Fake nails. Does anybody have artificial nails? Okay. They're fine for in here. When you go into the healthcare environment, usually offices will have a policy on that. And you'll see when we do our next little thing, what can actually fit on your nails. Okay, it's a really great area to harbor organisms. Okay, so the hand washing that we're going to be doing today, minimum of 15 seconds. Usually CDC now says 20 seconds. Your book says 15, which I thought was interesting. 15 to 20 seconds scrubbing. What does that mean? Soap, water on your hands, soap on your hands. You're going to scrub. Are you going to scrub only like this? Where else? In between, that's right. Fingernails, if you don't have a scrub brush, like this. On your palm of your hands, scrubbing them. Also your wrists, okay? So it's not just this, and you need to use friction. You don't want to just do this, rinse them off and be done. I'm talking friction, 15 to 20 seconds. Here, on the tops, rubbing your fingernails, and your wrists, okay? Wet your hands before you put the soap on now, okay? So that there's water in your hands, soap in your hands, scrubbing them off. When you go to rinse them, point them down, okay? Everything drops from your hands. When you dry your hands off, before you dry your hands off, should you turn the water off? Okay. Use a towel to turn the faucet off. That's the awesome thing about a lot of hospital settings, everything's automatic. So you don't even have to worry about trying to touch anything again. The thing that always drove me crazy at the hospital, it seems like certain areas should be push doors. So you never had to actually touch all these handles. Use a towel to turn the water off, okay? And then a surgical scrub was talked about in that chapter 2. Surgical scrub is different than what we're going to be doing today. That's like usually somewhere between 2 to 6 minutes. There's a protocol based on each facility. And it's a full blown, you have to use the little nail thing. And I mean, you're scrubbing straight minutes. And they sometimes will even have a clock in there to monitor. Like you have to start the clock and you keep scrubbing until you stop the clock. That is when you're going into a surgical environment like the OR. Okay.
I do that when I went to visit my son in the NICU. So if the nail sticks, the brushes, everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and they take it very seriously. Okay, so let's go ahead. It's almost 9:30. 9:35, we're going to start back, okay? That's all I wanted to tell you about the chapter. When we start back at 9:35, we're going to do a little activity, and then we're going to start the hand washing, okay? So what we'll do, if we have it set up correctly, we'll turn it on the TV so that you guys can see me in the lab washing my hands. And then I'm going to take you 2 at a time into the lab, and we'll do hand washing together, okay? And then we'll work through the other skills after that. When you're in here, you can watch on the screen. You'll be able to see your classmates in there, or you're welcome to go ahead and start reading through the next chapter too. Okay.
The blood bodies, but not anything else.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, I'm gonna show you guys, and then feels like Hollywood in here. And then there is a sink over there, so you guys can both do it at the same time. Just be careful because this water splashes everywhere. Okay, so don't turn on too high. So, what we're gonna do, water on, wet your hands. It's too high now. Okay, wet your hands. Soap. And I should have taken my hair tie off. So, scrub on the palms first. And row your boat twice. It's plenty of time. So 15 to 20 seconds. Scrubbing vigorously. In between. On the tops. Lots of friction, circular motions. Okay. A lot of this is just common sense, really. Fingers. And then make sure you get your wrists too. And then when you're getting the soap off, put your hand down so everything falls off your fingertips, okay? So all off one hand, all off the other. If your fingers touch the sink, you gotta start over, okay? You have to assume that there's germs on the sink. Okay? Get it all off and let them drip. The way that we normally teach it, which you would never do in a healthcare setting, but one to dry and then throw it to the trash cans here. Another to dry, throw it. Another to dry the back, throw it. Another to dry the other side, okay? If they're completely dry at that point, another one to turn off the water. Just make sure they're dry. Make sure you use a towel to turn off the water, okay? For nurse aid, it's very particular about how many towels. I'm not concerned about the number of towels as long as you're making sure that your hands are dry and you're not touching the sink, okay? All right, so go ahead. You guys can each take one. And I'll watch you. Okay. So they can see what's on the laptop here. On the TV?
No, the camera somehow.
Okay. Can I see it on the TV?
They can see if it's blurry.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, I never had that problem. My father-in-law, the first time I came over to his house, he's like, "Good gracious, you got big hands." I do have long fingers. He's like, "I hope you played the piano." Do you have a trash can over there?
It's up to?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, you're fine. I'll pick it up later. We both have the same. You got the same? You probably can put my stuff on the thing too. You get all that off.
I feel like it's still on there.
It is. It's all in my nail.
Ugh.
Watch again if you need to. I'm gonna grab the light. So you guys can see it.
I use a lot of sun. Huh?
Okay, so you were all set. If you can just bring, I'm gonna do the glow on you. If you can go grab more name tag and bring it back in, and just go ahead and put it, just hand it to me. And I can put it on this.
I definitely wrote one. You said write it long ways?
Yeah, very good. If it doesn't fit right, you can still put it on. It's fine. Just bring it back in. I'll throw it in there.
I'm so upset.
Ew. Your hands like that. Just trying to step. Even up your arms. I flip over. That looks your hand. Yeah, the paintbrush is good. Yeah. It's, that's how they say, even your regular nails, they don't want you to have, they want you to keep it very short. It's like, oh, that's really hard. It's about to stay with it. It's the thing on the front. Awesome, if you're gonna grab your packet, bring it back. No, it's fine. It'll fit like this. If you want to write it, you can write your name. Either way, as long as it's paper. You're welcome. So these I've shown you too. This is where you're going to grab each time I need you to grab something for you. Trouble or okay, so let's just let you look at this is everything we're going to use for all of our skills. Today, and this show class. This is something to practice This is actually powdered red water. It's really cool.
She was like, do you want to see? And I was like, she's, you know, you read the chapter and maybe try something else. Like, I'm not messing that up before I get it back.
No, I'm amazed by this.
Yeah, it's so
Because
cool.
it feels so like
Yeah.
You don't even know the half of my coup getting 15 extra arms.
Okay.
These kits are made in China. And so there's like, 6 months between the company ordering and getting them. So he knows this now. He's working on it. I said, I need 15 arms. And she said, well, you don't have, you can't buy them separate. And I said, well, what about like all the stuff in your warehouse that returned or wasn't complete? She emailed me back like an hour later. She says, we pulled 15 out from our file and they were here in 2 days. So
Wow. Thank you for your hard work.
Yeah.
that's what we do around here. Yeah, please.
Okay, so if you guys both want to come over.
I make sure.
What'd you say?
I said, hello, Miss Edna.
Yeah. Yeah, so earlier they named her Agnes. I'm like, we have to come up in the knee?
No.
So when you guys are washing, what I'm gonna have you do, there's another sink over there. So one will take that sink, but just watch for now.
Okay.
Be careful when you turn the water on, it splashes everywhere. Please don't turn on too high. You got a lot up there. Okay, so. This is kind of common sense, honestly. But wet your hands.
And then just to be face up to turn it on, paper towels too, we should do that. Always. I mean, it's.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, paper towels are fine. Okay, so wet your hands and then you're scrubbing. Row your boat twice is about 15 to 20 seconds. You want to sing something or happy birthday to you. Okay, so friction, not just like serious friction. Palms of your hands. In between your fingers. You guys see okay? Tops of your hands. Friction, circular motions. Fingernails. And wrists too. This is when it's good to take off hair ties, watches, all that, okay? All the way around your wrists. Okay, when you're washing it off, keep your hands down. Make sure you don't touch this thing. If you do touch this thing, you have to start over, okay? Because you have to assume that there are organisms on the sink. Okay, keep your fingers down. If you're in our nurse aid class, and I'm going to show you how we do it in nurse aid. In terms of medical assistant, I want you to dry your hands, use a towel to turn it off. But we show this to you to be overly cautious. Okay? 1, 2, ridiculous. 3, 4. So 1 for each side. And if you need another one, that would be 5 to dry somewhere off here. If not, number 5, turn it up. Okay? Yeah. So I don't need you to do that many. However many you feel you need to dry your hands is fine. And make sure that you do not touch the handles, only with a towel. Okay? So go ahead and start, and then we'll use the light again. We'll see how your hands look once you wash.
Oh, I forgot to wash hands wet first.
Yeah, that's okay. Just go ahead. Get your hands wet. Yep. How long was your son in the NICU?
15 days.
Oh my gosh, God, you're tired.
And he was the first, he was actually the first baby I think walked through the hospital with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, you live top here?
No, I live in Amesville, so.
Okay, Culpeper side or Rockingham?
Culpeper.
Okay.
So, I actually had him 35 weeks early, but I had HELLP syndrome and it went undetected. So I had an emergency C-section.
That's weird.
And, my blood platelets kept dropping, so I was actually shipped out the next day, to UVA so that I was gonna have a plasmapheresis.
Oh my God.
And, I ended up being able to get my platelets up, but, yeah, it was too hard. So I was away from him for 3 days, and then I was reunited, so that was nice.
Oh my
And
gosh.
luckily, I was still, like, my body and even being separated from my baby, I was, able to function. My mom would take it, the colostrum.
Oh, that's like super mom status.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing. But that, I mean, you think about it, and you're so emotional anyways to have to go through all of that too. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's amazing. You can see. No, you did well. Like it looks sticking out. You can see it. A little bit. Yes.
Yeah, we got kind of.
What I told the last group too. You're welcome to wash them again. And she's like, oh. All right, put your hands over. Yeah, you can see where it stays.
You find that if you can't real stories is worth it.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. But and it's funny. It becomes such a habit that you
Yeah.
never really let them grow out. honestly, it's a means to protect your patients, but it's also to protect you. Okay, so you are all set, and you're welcome to watch me if you want to get it off of it. Look, we got one little dot.
You know, it's part of the game.
Wrist trimming, I'm gonna type, that's gonna be my homework, to trim the nails. It's worth it. It's worth it.
You know, cuticles, that area is always under the nail.
You have pretty short nails. Well, that's the, you have pretty short nails, that's gonna be my homework.
Yeah. Good, did well. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so you guys are all set.
Do you want to write on that paper?
No, I'm doing it on my end. So you're good. That's just if you want to keep it in binders. Okay, so I'm gonna show them the skills you. Once we start the next set of skills we'll do, we're gonna have to kind of figure, look at your gown out, your goggles out, all of that, okay? But this is what's gonna go home if you want to go virtual. And this, each of you will have one of these too. I'm so to show you guys, because I think it's cool. So this is like powdered red and water. But obviously, if you want to feel it, you all need to. It's very like you'll practice drawing blow and practice projection. So when it's time to come in and grab your gown off, go right over to your bed.
We could put dog on a lot, like dog boxes and stuff like that.
You know, it really depends. It depends on the location. The doctor's office that I worked at, they had lab for it. They had a specific lab where it was in the office. We didn't travel that often. Occasionally, if she was out to lunch or on vacation, we would. But some offices, each medical assistant is required to do whatever work is needed for that provider. So some do. Yeah. Even a lot of family practice.
You do shots, right?
Yeah,
Shots?
lots of shots. So
You
good.
do a shot.
You don't want to draw those.
Nah, because I'm not trying to work with pediatrics. I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
I personally don't like getting my own blood.
Yeah.
Instead of needles. I'm okay with getting a shot, but having it stick in you, stand there for like 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, a lot of pediatric offices, they won't have a specific lab person. That's a little more specialized.
There's bottomless for that for children.
Yeah. Usually, but I will say my kid's pediatrician office, they're the LP that works with their pediatrician. She drew my daughter's blood last time, so it's possible. You have to be prepared for that if you like peds. But yes, if you're in pediatric area, you're going to have a lot of immunizations. That's a big
I
thing.
just don't want to have to draw their blood.
Okay, so for hand washing, take a towel, turn it on. I didn't do that last time for them. They caught me. You have two sinks, so once I show you guys, one of you can go over there, one of you can be here. Okay, so turn the water on, wet your hands. I keep forgetting to take my hair tie off. So once your hands are wet, 20 seconds. Happy birthday to you, row, row, row your boat. Either of those twice, okay? This is not friction. This is friction. Push together hard, rub quickly. All over the palms of your hands. Okay? In between your fingers. up your hands. I'm gonna have the cleanest hands in all this variable by the end of class today. Or the driest, and then fingernails too, okay? Circular motions. That's where you'll notice that germ glow the most is in your cuticles, so wash really well on there. And then also wrists. Now, if you touch the sink, it's an automatic redo, okay? You gotta wash them again if you touch the sink. This is, in a healthcare environment. You have to assume that there are, that's why the water should go too high. You have to assume there are organisms all over the sink, so do not touch it while you're washing. Okay, keep fingers pointed down, get all the soap off. And then what I've been showing everybody is how we teach the nurse aides. Is this realistic in a healthcare environment? Absolutely not, but we're gonna show it to you anyways, okay? 1, wipe up. 2, wipe the back. Yeah, if you did this in a doctor's office, the doctor would come and say, what in the heck are you doing? Okay, 3.
You start taking out of your pay on the napkin.
Oh, yeah, you have to take your own. 4, if you need a fifth to dry off your hands, use a fifth. If you wipe down once, they're assuming that's clean. But if you were to bring it back up, they're saying that whatever is here, you're bringing back onto your hand. So it's
Why
not,
don't you wipe down here to begin with? Why don't they just say just wipe your hands?
because, they require you to wipe, to
Oh.
wash all the way up. And once you lift your hands up to dry, it's gonna start dripping too. And then once you guys wash, we'll pull out the light, you can see how it's been. Yeah, watch it, you might have to turn it down if it breaks too much. You guys are so quiet. No, don't you, are you guys driving from like Stafford?
No, we're in, well,
Fredericksburg.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
How long does it take to get here?
It's on an hour, like 15, 25 miles.
It's quite a hike.
Yeah.
And how did you hear about this school?
I do a research for it, like, I was at Wigan, I was at program, the hands-on stuff,
Yeah.
and, yeah. Really cool.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
All right, let's see if you pass the test.
Oh. There we go, a little bit. Then I look in your cuticles.
So everybody has the same issue. Yeah, and you can see in the folds of skin.
That's a really germ light for us.
What is it?
That's actually like these germs.
It's a black light, so that germ glow reacts to the black light. You can see it. These are not real germs, but I promise. It's just a color. It shows up. Yeah, so you can see it. You did great. You did great. So you're good. Go ahead and back. A little bit there. Yeah, it's a fingernail.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's hard to like look at that.
Another ring, I know. I have this stuff all over. I can't talk
Yeah.
it.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Can I flip it over? Yeah, it's amazing. I think it's good. That's why I like for people that have the big fingernails to see it. It's rings
Those
too.
impacts.
Yeah, you did great on that. You got a little bit of that too? That's funny. I don't know why I said those. See, look, you found that ring.
Yeah, so rings are like a no-go.
Yeah.
On the field for sure.
You did great. This is actually amazing. It's just red powder and water in here. Already set up. So, you want to touch it? Wash your hands. It feels very like zero practice on the needle to actually be able to hold the skin spot here and you have blood release into the container. It's really cool. You can also practice injections. Oh yeah. And this will go home with you. We'll practice here in the lab. And then this will go, all of us go in back to practice. We've got needles that are going to go home with you. Extras you guys need. The only thing that we do require, if you choose to draw blood on the liver, has to be absolutely easy. This probably goes without saying, but yeah. And it's obviously not our responsibility to injure family members. But yeah, I practice with my husband. We went to school. I'm like, hey, can I draw your blood? He was giving the girls a bath, and I made him stand on top of the toilet, and he's like, oh. I'm like, you better start breathing, you're gonna pass out to the top. But he liked it. It was fun. First thing. Okay, so far we have Agnes. I don't remember what they said last time. We have to think of a name for her. Okay, so hand washing. We've got a station over there too. So what we'll do is you guys one take each after you watch. Okay. This is all pretty common sense, but we have to go over it. Okay. So turn it on. Grab a towel. Turn it on. Okay. Be careful trying these things on because the water splashes everywhere. Okay. First thing, hands wet. So this is not friction. Okay. I want serious rubbing. Really hard. Okay. Row, or happy birthday to you twice is about 15 to 20 seconds. Okay. So if you want to sing out loud, you want to sing in your head, or count. Okay. So friction all over your palms. And then go in between your fingers. Tops of your hands. I told the last group, I said, I'm going to have the cleanest hands and I'll spare you the whole night by lunchtime. Okay, fingers, circular motions. And this is where, when we use the black light again, after you're done washing, this is where you're going to see all that germ glows in your cuticles. So scrub really well there. And then wrists. Okay.
Wait, do you have to do it in that pattern? Or
No, as long as you're doing all of this.
Yeah.
No. Okay, when you're ready to rinse, hands down, so it can all drip off your fingers. Okay, water is scalding hot. Okay, so once they're dry, what we're teaching is the way the nurse aide does it. What I want you to do is dry your hands and then take a paper towel and turn it off. But I'm going to show you the way that we teach in nurse aide.
Okay.
If you do this in an office setting, they're not very happy. Okay, 1, 2. Oh yeah. I'm like, are you serious? 3. Oh yeah. The idea though is that this is clean and you're pulling to dirty, so you don't want to pull it back up. The water is dripping, so you have to wipe your arms too.
we see the front first.
Just dry your hands off with a towel, it's fine. So yes, if you want to practice nurse aid, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you need a 5th to dry off anywhere, go ahead and use that. Use a separate one, not the one you dried your hands with, to turn off the water. Cool. Okay? And then we'll use the germ glow.
So like all to use like 6 paper towels like to turn it on.
Yeah. In the real world, you're welcome to use a towel to turn it on. That may not always be realistic.
So in the doctor's office, is that how they do it too? Or no, they
Nurse
take the paper
aid.
towel and turn it off. That's a nurse aid. Okay.
So nurse aid, yes, yeah. So nurse aid, they're trained. And so nurse aid is tested. They actually have a skills-based test, like a practical test, plus a written test. And they actually have to practice the skills in front of a proctor.
I've never seen them like my school experience with this in my grandpa. I've never seen them like it is all like
Yeah.
useful. I just
Hopefully
think
they were trained well.
I just never seen this
Yeah,
before.
yeah. You don't have to use that in your house.
Okay.
So go ahead, and if you want to put some good work. Yeah, when I first saw that, I said, are we serious? That's 6 pounds. You guys are doing great. Yeah, I got really hot up here too. Sorry, burning.
Yeah.
Get the dry hands and then don't turn the water off till you're done drying your hands.
I'm going the way you push.
What you say?
I'm going the way I see you doing this.
Yeah.
Going down.
That, so dry up. Lift your hands up. Wash them down, get everything dripped off.
Oh, so you're going to go like this.
You're drying up, yeah. So then dries. It would fall down.
Oh.
Just make sure they're dry. Are they what? Yeah. Real old on the list.
Yes. Okay. They feel clean. Oh, wow.
So look, yeah, lift your finger. Do you see these? Yeah. Shows you this is why they tell you. I swear the ones for environment, so you guys can learn too. Your hands look really good though. Yeah, just the fingers, right? Put the hands over. Oh, yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah, what did you do? Every single person so far, same thing. Beautiful.
I understand. I just think I feel like there's some like you strip like both of them. It's like you're not good at it.
Yeah, it's fine. You think you clean.
You ice cream? Okay. I might mind though. I was like, oh, looks like you know picking at them.
Yeah, it's
What is all that stuff?
it's that germ glow that was in the lotion.
Oh, so that's just that germs?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
not. No. It's not real. It's fake. It's just supposed to make you wash your hands. You put it on your hands. Just you can see like right in the creases. Stuff stays. This is exactly why when you go to the Chick-fil-A drive-thru, gotta make sure you wash your hands before you call them back.
So I'm like, no, I need one now. They're hot.
Touch your steering wheel. You also touched your steering wheel after you pumped gas. If you didn't sanitize your hands, now you're eating French fries and touching the steering wheel. So now you know what's on your hands. Takes paper. Yep. Okay, you guys are all set. One more sheet. So when we come into the lab to get equipment, after you get your anything from your skill kit, it'll be in that container. Okay. I'll show you this one. So these are all the things that you get to go home with. There's stuff that we'll use the next few weeks. this. This is what you'll practice drawing blood on in the injections. So this is just for the monitor. Feel it. It actually
Oh,
feels
wow,
pretty
yeah, that's
light.
better than the arms we used in Fulani.
Yeah.
Those were really
Did
bad.
you take Fulani here?
No, for
Okay.
Japan.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh.
I think it's so cool because you can actually feel,
Yeah.
touch, and feel the skin. So yes, this will practice here with. And practice home too. And you will have needles that you come home with, so just be cautious.
Yeah.
Keep it somewhere like Robin said, I think she said it last week. Keep it somewhere out of the reach.
Yes.
Okay, so we're washing hands. First thing we're gonna do, towel, turn on the water, and watch this water because it's getting really hot.
Okay.
So turn on the water, throw away your towel, hands wet. And that's so fun. You're gonna start scrubbing. So this is not friction. I want you to push hard together, rub vigorously. And what I told everybody else, happy birthday to you, or row your boat twice. Okay, that's about 15 to 20 seconds. Rub palms, and you can do in between your fingers. And the order doesn't matter as long as you're touching all these areas. Okay, tops. You can do circular. Every time I forget to take off my hair tie. I keep thinking I'll remember, and then I forget again. Okay, fingernails. And then wrists. Okay, and then when you're rinsing it off, keep your fingertips down so that any of the germs don't go off of your hands. Okay. And could you hear me when you were in there?
A little bit.
Okay, so I'll just explain it all. I never know if anybody hears. Okay, when you're drying your hands, we try to teach you the nurse aid way so that you're aware of it. This is not realistic in an office environment, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. Okay, one, they suggest one towel for each side. Yep. 2, 3, 4. If you need a 5th, you can get that to dry your hands. If not, take one and turn it off. Okay?
Okay.
You're all set. And then we'll use black light and look at it.
Okay.
See how well you did. Yeah. And just use, next time, just make sure you use a separate towel turn off. Yeah. Look, everybody has the same issue. In the cuticles, it shows you. See?
Oh gosh.
Yeah. No, I think it's really good to see. So look at you right now.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
That's what it's telling you. You think these places come up with all this crazy policies.
Yeah.
And then you actually see and say, oh, never mind now. You're saying,
Wow.
yeah, you did really well on your hands. It's just the nails. And that's everybody's.
Right.
Yep. Okay, put them over and see. That's what we saw with the acrylic house. They're all under, but you can see like your nails up. Yours are short enough you can't really see under, but a lot of people had it under inside of their nail.
Yeah.
And even around the underside of your ring, you can see areas. Yeah, see, lift this nail up. You see that?
Oh,
underneath it?
yeah.
Yeah. And this one, that's why they say keep them short. You did well though. You answered comments. You did great. Awesome. No, that's fine. Thank you for reminding me. It's just become a appreciate you guys' patience. It takes a little one to go through the lab now, we can't have everybody together. It's a little bit of a learning curve. Is anybody having any problems accessing Cengage? Everybody can find the chapter 36, okay? No, okay, I will help you. Everybody else is okay though? I got smart this week and I decided to see how I was the speaker. But I was telling some of you, these skills lists are great to keep, so you can always go back and look at them. You need to take them with you to the job, keep your notebook somewhere on your desk. If you get, if you forget something specific about how to give an injection, what order to how to draw blood, these are an awesome thing to have. We've got one more list for you. So, what is it? Oh, I'm sorry. For next week, vital signs. Okay? Everybody is going to go home with a stethoscope and a blood pressure cuff. Okay? So you're going to use them here, and you're going to go home with them to practice in the kit. They are something that will have to be returned at the end of the semester. But you will have them to practice. You can't practice on each other in class, but you're welcome to practice. You can put the blood pressure cuff of yourself in class, and you can take it home and practice on family members. Okay. And I highly encourage to use the blood pressure cuff as much as you possibly can, because it's really important to practice hearing the sounds. Okay. A lot of offices will let you do an automatic machine, so we'll a little part in there. But the automatic blood pressure cuff, it's really important that you know how to check blood pressure on your own, because sometimes those things aren't accurate. And if you're put in a situation where they're questioning somebody's blood pressure, you want to make sure that you can do it comfortably, okay? We'll go over all of that next week. Everybody have 8 and 9. 2 pages of paper, 2 pieces of paper. Okay, so next thing we're going to do. We got small, I think we have medium and large gloves and all that. So we'll get you guys a set of gloves. Okay. All right. So in terms of removing your gloves, these are non-sterile. So what does that mean exactly? Sterile gloves, something that we'll go over later. You're doing sterile field for, let's say, a procedure. You're in a doctor's office and somebody has like a boil on their back. They need to use sterile supplies to actually lance open that boil, get what's inside of it out, and close it back up. That would be, you need to create a sterile field. Those are special gloves that come in paper that will practice opening and putting on. These are just the regular gloves that you're going to use for most procedures. Okay? So, how do you take them off? Grab your non-dominant hand. This is after you've done whatever procedure you're doing. Say you've gone to the patient's room, you swab their throat. pull it over top of it, okay? So now you're gonna drop it right in the trash can. Okay, and we'll practice that in the lab. No questions, I'm not getting started on it. Okay, so if you are going into, here's a scenario. You're working in the hospital as a medical assistant. You need to go into a patient's room who's on isolation. Let's say they're positive for C. diff. All of these things, this PPE, are the things that they're gonna have on the door hanging there that you need to put on before you go in that patient's room. Let's say you need to clean up something biohazardous. So let's say that patient who has C. diff has had a bowel movement all over the bed. So you need to go in with a biohazard bag to be able to throw away anything that's considered contaminated. Okay? Let's say there's also blood involved. So his IV line leaked and he has C. diff. Okay? So here's your scenario set up. These are all the things that you're going to need. So what's PPE? What does it stand for? Yes. So what do we need? Yeah, so goggles or face shield. Okay? Each place is going to be a little different on what they require. So what we're going to do is practice putting this stuff on and practice taking it off so that you're comfortable. Okay? So if you look at, does anybody have their skills list in front of them? If you want to look at that order, we'll go over that. You can see removing everything that you don't need on, that jewelry, the watch, anything that could be exposed to that potential hazard to you. Okay? Washing your hands, doing that before you go to reach your board, pull all those equipment on. Okay? So, first thing, mask. Well, that's easy, we already got them on. Okay? Mask, you're going to go to your eyes. Alright? What's next? What did you say?
Hair covering.
Yeah, if you need a hair covering or a face mask. So, I'm sorry, face shield. Can't even see you guys. Breathe on. Okay, so mask. Your goggles. What did you say? Yeah, we're just talking about these things, and then we're going to go through the whole thing. What did you say? Gloves, yeah, yes. Okay, so you need a mask. You need your eye protection. You need possibly a face shield, possibly a hair covering, whatever they're requiring at your facility. Okay, so you go ahead. Tell me what's the first thing you do after you wash your hands and take jewelry off.
Put them down.
Okay. Each of you are going to have a gown just like this. These are considered disposable ones. We're going to use them throughout the semester, so I don't want you to throw them away. If you're in a hospital setting or an office setting, this is disposable. You will get rid of this each time. Okay? So, to put it on, you're going to open it up, arms out, put your arms through. Pull it all the way up. Some will have a tie at the top too. You're going to take this string, pull it around into the back, and tie it. I would say tie it like you would a shoelace in a bow, so you can pull it easily. A lot of these in the healthcare setting, you can actually pull and it'll snap, so that you don't have to worry about trying to fiddle with it. Okay. So what's next?
And the mask. And the
Okay.
glasses.
So the glasses. So gown first, mask, glasses, hair covering or shield, and then what?
And gloves.
Okay, I'm gonna take these off so I can see you guys. So gloves over top of the sleeves. Why do we do that? Do you think? Right, to protect yourself. So make sure it's completely over. If you need to, pull that gown down and then to the glove. Okay. Same thing with this one. If you're going in to clean up some sort of biohazardous material, if they don't already have it in the room, you're going to make sure you have one of these. This is a sign for biohazard. This is the same sign you see on the sharps containers, like in the labs and in an office setting. Okay. So biohazard tag, blood type things going for biohazard. Okay. So let's say we go in and we clean up whatever mess we have to clean up in the patient's room, and then what? When we leave the room, what goes off first? Okay. Why the gloves?
You want to touch.
Right. So let's say we have to clean this patient up and he has feces all over him, which is positive for C. diff. There's a really good chance that you might have it on your gloves. You do not want to be touching your mask or touching anywhere on your clothes with C. diff on your hands, okay? Does everybody know what C. diff is? Okay, C. diff is something that you can have in your bowels. It's very contagious. You have serious diarrhea for sometimes months. Something that can be caused by antibiotics, which you can pick up like in a hospital type setting. It's not something you want to spread to your next patient. Okay? So, first thing off, dirty gloves. Like we just practiced. Sorry guys, it's tied to the top. Like we practiced grab. Stick your finger under. Flip them over, drop this in the biohazard bag. Okay? With whatever the contaminant is that you cleaned up. Okay, what's next? Okay, mask off, gloves off, gown off. To do that, if you have any contaminants, if you feel there's anything on either this, or this, put some new gloves on so you don't expose your bare hands. Let's say this person was also vomiting. Well, you have stuff all over your gown. Even though you've taken off your soiled gloves, you want to put some new gloves on to protect yourself, okay? And protect your next patient. Diana, did you have a question?
Yeah, you're not supposed to wash your hands before you take off the mask.
Once you leave the room, you're gonna wash your hands. Right now, everybody's got to keep the mask on, but yeah.
No, I'm saying like after you take off your gloves, you take off the mask without washing your hands. I'd rather wash my hands before I touch my
I
face.
agree with you. The way the skills list works,
Yeah.
no, you want to wash your hands. Don't be touching your face.
Yeah, I'll wash my hands.
And more than likely, you're gonna be hitting the sanitizer before you even leave that room once you've taken everything off. Okay, so untie. If you've made it into like you would a shoelace, you're gonna untie it, you're gonna pull it. Now, there is an actual method to this. If it's tied at the top, obviously you need to untie it here too. Stick your finger under the front of it. Okay? The idea here is that you want to pull it off without exposing yourself. This is why if you have anything on the front of it, you want to put some more gloves on. Because guess what? It's gonna touch all over your hand. You're gonna pull this off and then roll it. Pull it away from you and keep rolling it. If you're touching the inside, it's considered clean. Okay? Keep rolling, rolling, rolling. Pull this one all the way off. You roll it into a ball. This is the clean side that was against me. Throw it. Dispose of it. Okay? Like that. And then wash your hands again, okay? Any questions? Anybody? Okay. So what we're gonna do, let's do 3 at a time this time. So 1, you 3 go first. We'll go and fill out our practice.